Spill as little gas as I can. Oh, dude, this shit is filled to the brim. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another car antics video. Today we have another video on the GR86. Unfortunately, it is not ready yet for its built block, but we do have one extra mod to do before we get that back. Obviously, clearly with the built block, looking to push a little more power than you would on a stock block, just because you can. But that does require some extra fueling, meaning we got a new fuel pump hanger, pretty much a whole new system. So it's a new hanger. I already have an upgraded fuel pump, if you guys saw the other video, as well as there's a whole new return style system for this car. If you guys didn't know, stock fueling on the 86 platform is returnless, but you're gonna need a return style system in order to push the power I'm looking to push. So let's do it. All right, so first step, you wanna make sure there's not a bunch of fuel in your fuel tank. Try to pump what you can out. There's a way to do it. I think we showed it in like the video where I installed the upgraded fuel pump, so go look for that. I don't think I had that much fuel in it from what I remember last time, but if there is, then there's just gonna be some fuel leaking out. Also, before you start this, open your fuel cap to relieve any pressure. Once you get in here, there's like a 10mm bolt down over here. I'm gonna just take it out. I already loosened it. That's gonna allow us to take this whole seat off. And there's a connector, so make sure you unplug that over here from the seats. So now here in this little area, we got our panel for where the fuel pump whole assembly thing is located. So we're gonna have to basically just get some type of prying tool. This is what I just grabbed. You use like a flathead, and it's just stuck on there. There's no bolts or anything. It's just like goo, what you will see right now. It's like venom in here. You just set it off to the side. Make it a little easier. Unplug this clip right here. It's this great clip. Once you unplug it, you can move this whole entire thing just like off to the side, out of the way. If you want, you could honestly just pull out this rubber grommet too. Really get it completely out of the way. So now down in here, as you can see, this is the fuel pump hanger. And we're gonna basically have to take this apart a little bit. In order to do this, there's tools out there that you can use, but honestly, this way works just as well. Little tip, instead of using a flathead, use a wrench. If you don't have the tool to remove this correctly, I'm using a 15mm wrench. I don't know if you guys can see this. There's a bunch of tabs broken from us trying, but this shit fits literally right around this. Hitting it like this with the wrench doesn't break the tabs. Just place it like so on the side, and it literally fits perfect. You can just smack it, and it started loosening without breaking any of the tabs. So it's a little trick for y'all. Just do that, and it comes off so much freaking easier. Oh, okay. I'm gonna try to spill as little gas as I can. Oh, dude, this shit is filled to the brim. I think we need to pump some out. It's filled to the brim.
A few minutes later.
All right. So as you saw, struggled to get this thing out. One, we couldn't get the ring off. Two, had literally a full tank, but we drained most of it out. Now we're gonna start taking this thing apart. So first thing we wanna do is these wires up here. We're gonna unplug both of them. There we go. They're gonna come out like this. And then first thing we're gonna do after that is remove this little flotation thing to tell your car how much fuel you have. This little tab right here, you're gonna push in, and then this whole thing should be able to just kind of slide up. Shifts up like that, and then this thing is loose. Just careful with this, because this little meter thing right here is what tells your car its fuel level. Now you're gonna have this piece all by itself. Once you got this little fuel sender thing out, the only things, if you're doing it from like stock and you haven't opened up this thing before, you can only use these things right here. The leveler thing, the gasket, and then the whole actual ring that holds it down. So hold those off to the side. This whole thing is not gonna be reused. I do have to take it apart because I do have my upgraded fuel pump in here already. So if you've done that before in the past, then go ahead and take this apart, get your upgraded fuel pump out, because you're gonna reuse that. If you bought this separately, you should just have it out. Just keep that to the side for now. But I took it out of my OEM housing, as you can tell. Set this off to the side. Now we're gonna start working on the radium one. So first step is gonna be taking this top piece off of this bottom piece. For that, it's gonna be 2 bolts right here, and then 1 bolt right here on this side. And once we do that, we should be able to just take this whole top piece out. Forgot to mention, you gotta take these 2 off to get this bracket off first too. And then this whole thing will come off. I think I kind of reversed some of the steps here, but overall, you wanna take this piece out and separate from the top half. So I'm not sure if you could take this mounting piece off first, but you're gonna get this piece out too. So let's do that real quick. So the 2 bolts you're gonna take out was the one right here, as well as the one up here. And then once you got that out, this whole thing should slide right out, like so. This is gonna depend on the setup that you have. If you plan on using 1 fuel pump only, you're gonna make sure that one of these holes are plugged up. So like this one is plugged up on this side already. That's how it came from Radium. I think if you buy 2 of the fuel pumps, there's like an option to run dual fuel pumps, then there'll be nothing here, but just check it out, make sure it's there. This is where you kind of have to figure out what type of fuel pump you're using. If you're using a Walboro fuel pump, I believe there's only a select few. Let me pull up the ones that will work with it. So the Walboro fuel pumps, the numbers that work are the F90,267, 274, or 285. So I have the 274. This is also known as the Walbro 485 fuel pump. This is the one that came with the JDL kit for the 2nd gen on the turbo kit. So if you have that, you're good, it'll work. There are options where you can get brushless fuel pumps. That's a whole different like instruction list. So if you do have that, look on Radium's website, look for the instructions on the brushless one, finish that little part, and then come back here and then do that. But if you are one of the Walbro ones, just continue following this video. So we're gonna set all the Radium shit aside, and we're gonna start working on the actual fuel pump. You're gonna need a couple things from your hardware. One is gonna be this little black fitting right here. We're gonna also need this green fitting right here. And then a couple of little screws, O-rings, and all that. One thing to note, Radium did send over 2 of like all the stuff that I just showed you. I assume that's if you did want to run dual, they just supply the extra hardware for you, which is cool. So what you're gonna do first is make sure this little area right here isn't all messed up. Make sure it still looks good. Otherwise, the little black piece isn't gonna fit on properly. But once you make sure that's good, you're gonna go ahead and plop that thing on there just like that. These little painter clips, you're gonna plop them into the little crevice of this fitting, fall right in. What that's gonna do is make sure this black fitting stays on there. So like now that they're sitting there, this thing won't come off. Pretty cool. That's a pretty cool design. All right, once you got that on there, next step is your little O-ring. You do want to lube it up before putting it on here, so make sure y'all do that. You're gonna want to just put it on top like this. Don't push it down all the way past the little fitting or barb, whatever you call it. And then you're gonna hold this black piece up. It should kind of like fill in the gap with the O-ring. And then you're gonna grab the green piece and then just sandwich it on. And this will push the O-ring into the place it needs to be. And then have your little screws ready. And once you tighten this all down, it will compress the O-ring right into place to seal the fittings together. Boom, as you can see, got this little piece installed on the fuel pump. That shit looks pretty sick, not gonna lie. I love Radium's products, they look so cool. All right, now that we got it installed, we're gonna work on the next thing. Now what you're gonna do, that open port on this top half, or top hat part, whatever you call it, you gotta secure that in there. You're gonna use a 15mm wrench, keep turning it until it's tight. Don't over tighten it, don't do too much. And now you have your fuel pump installed. It looks pretty sick. Once you got the pump onto this little top piece. If you already had a fuel filter on it, go ahead and take it off, because your radium kit should come with some that will fit perfectly into the little casing. So take whatever you have off and then go ahead and put on what radium provided. I believe you had choices between like micron glass whatever filters or like a stainless steel one. I went with the micron one just because they are better at filtering, but they don't last as long. Once you get this out, take out the little rubber piece, plop it onto the pump, how it should line up. But once it's on there, it should not come off, especially because we're gonna put a little star washer thingy to lock it in place. All right, so once you got the filter on, we're gonna go ahead, and I kind of already did it on accident before showing y'all. This connector for the level, snip that off. I'm not gonna use that anymore. And then go ahead and pull back some of the wire insulation. Comes with a bunch of hardware. We're gonna go ahead and slide heat shrink over each wire and then crimp on some of these ring connectors, and that is all set. And then we're gonna go ahead and attach it to the actual fuel hat. Got these ring terminals on to the wires with the heat sink and everything covering it. Now we're gonna attach it to the fuel hat, and the ones we're gonna attach it to are this level sensor one right here, but we're gonna attach it on the inside, right here. So whichever ones correlate from the outside, that's a level sensor, you're gonna attach it to the inside. I don't believe it matters which one goes on which. I'm gonna go ahead and twist it as well to kind of keep it a little organized together. Put them on there. So in this next clip, the mic died and we didn't realize, but I'm just gonna do a quick voiceover on how to connect the fuel pump to power. It's super simple. It's gonna work the same way as the fuel level sender. So you're gonna just cut off any connectors that you have. If you did previously have a connector from upgrading your fuel pump, go ahead and cut that off. You're not gonna need that anymore as well. So you're gonna just put on the ring terminals along with the heat shrink and connect it to the fuel hat. The ones that you need to connect to are gonna be the one labeled 1 for the fuel pump. You do have the option to get a DIY wiring kit from Radium as well, but it is super easy to just do it on your own because it's just the same thing as the fuel level sender. So go ahead and just do that. Red is going to be positive, the black is going to be negative, and once you get that on, you're set with that. Go ahead and put on that last part of the fuel hat, which is the mounting bracket. I did end up putting that on first before doing the wiring, which made it a little more difficult, so do the wiring first, then the mounting bracket. When you put on the mounting bracket, you might notice if you have a Walbro 485 fuel pump that it doesn't fit completely on there. It still holds it in place well enough, so don't worry about that too much. It just doesn't fit super snug just because of the size difference. But once it's on, you should be all set. Once you get the mounting bracket on, you can go in ahead and slide the whole piece back together inside the bucket. Make sure that the fuel level sender is coming out on the correct side of the bucket where you're going to mount it up, otherwise you're going to have your wiring wrapping around. And once you get that snug back in, we can go ahead and put all the bolts back in place where they need to go and put the fuel level sender back into its clip. It works the same way as the OEM one, so you just need to slide it back in and make sure that clip pops back into place. And once you get all that on there, the bracket or the shielding for that tube goes back on as well, and that's going to be the last bolts you need to tie everything down together and make sure it stays in place. All right, so finally got this whole thing put back completely together. We're gonna go ahead and set this off to the side for now. Before we put it in, we do have to do some wiring, like I said, in the car with the OEM harness and connector. So now that we're in the car, I went ahead and cut the connector that plugs into the fuel hanger pump thing. Cut the connector off. It's gonna give us 4 wires. Go ahead and cut off some of the shielding, give yourself a little room as well. These 4 wires are gonna each do certain things. These 2, the thicker ones, in the 22 model year of the 86 second gen. Not sure if it's different for the BRZ or different model years, but in the 22 GR86, it is going to be red and black. Super simple. Red is going to be positive, black is going to be negative. And then the other 2 are going to be your wires for the fuel level. Now, just like it doesn't matter which terminals you put it on in the fuel hanger, it doesn't matter which ones you put it on the outside either. So these can go on whichever. These have to go on positive, negative, respectively. I'm gonna go ahead and put on the ring terminals on there, and then we should be able to put in the new hanger. Don't forget to grab the little clip piece off of your OEM one. Just slide it onto there. That way it can lock this tube onto here as well. Go ahead and carefully set the level inside there along with the rest of the whole tank, and it should sit right just how your OEM one sat. Now I got the optional plumbing kit for the GR86, which turns it into the returnless system, which we are going to install another day, but it will literally be like next clip for you.
Day 2.
Welcome to day number 2 of the fuel system upgrade on the GR86. Now we got the whole return system that Radium has made for all 86s. Should be pretty simple install. Just have to mount some brackets, run the fuel lines from the front all the way to back. So yeah, hopefully things go well to get started. All right, so we got all this stuff laid out from Radium right here in the kit. Have all the hoses, fuel pressure gauge, and all of these things. I don't exactly know what they do, but good thing Radium has a installation guide on their website, so hopefully you'll be able to follow that super easily and figure everything out. So first step is getting this mounting brackets onto the car, and it seems pretty simple from what the instructions say. We're just going to need these 3 little Allen bolts, and it's going to just mount to existing holes on the car. So moving down under the car, normally you're going to have your skid plate and like this kind of like covering down here, which you're going to want to take off first, but since I was already working on my car, that is off. Essentially this bracket right here is going to sit right about here. As you can see on this hole, there's an existing hole already right there, along with 2 other ones on the car. All right, moving forward, we're gonna go ahead and get this little piece right here. The O-ring was separate, so go ahead and slide that onto this as well. This is the 1/8 inch inline adapter or something. I think it's called like an NPT adapter. You're gonna grab that along with your fuel pressure gauge right here that is also included. Basically, you screw this onto the side right here. Well, actually, before you do that, you do want to apply Teflon to this. We're gonna do that. Let me do that real quick. Got the Teflon installed, so we're gonna go ahead and just screw this onto here. You're gonna want to just hand tighten it first, and then go ahead and grab a wrench, and then do like 1.5 to, I would say maybe about 2 turns. Just make sure it's fully on there, but if it does feel super tight, it should be just fine. So once you have the gauge tightened down on your fitting, I go ahead and grab this cylinder piece. It's gonna have 2 ends. There is an outlet side as well as an inlet side. This piece is gonna go onto the outlet side. Go ahead and lube up your O-ring with a little bit of oil or some grease, and then you're just gonna go ahead and tighten this piece right on there. And once you tighten it and it doesn't tighten anymore, that's it. Don't over tighten it, don't try to force it, just like that. Once it's on, you should be all set with that. And then for the inlet side, you want to find this 10N to 8N male fitting and install it on here. Same thing, lubricate the O-ring a little bit, and go ahead and screw this on and tighten it down. Now you have both sides on, fuel pressure gauge side and this side right here on the inlet side. All right, next step, we're gonna go ahead and grab the heat exchanger. I'm gonna go ahead and have this Radium logo towards the bottom, this one upside down towards the top, and slide it in on the right side with the gauge being on the right side as well, just like so. You do want to tighten down the heat exchanger to the fuel filter, which is that cylinder, and we're going to go ahead and just tighten these 2 down which is going to squeeze onto the fuel filter. For the gauge, do want to make sure it is pointing straight up. All right, so there you go. You don't necessarily need to go super tight on this, just enough to keep this from moving around or rotating around. But once that's in, we can go ahead and take this piece out right here and install that on. Okay, low key, I got a little confused and stuck on this for a while, but I figured it out just because I can't read properly. But essentially, all these ports, if you're looking at yours, are gonna be completely empty, and you're gonna go ahead and put these on. So starting on this side with the 2 ports, the top one is gonna be the 8N to 10N male fitting, and then this bottom one right under it is gonna be the 6N to 6N male fitting. Moving on to the side with 3 holes, you're gonna use a plug that it comes with. You're gonna fit that on the bottom, and then the 2 top ones are gonna be also 6N to 6N male fittings. Once you get those all put on and tightened down, I'm gonna grab the filter, and this is just gonna screw onto here like so. And once we do that, it is ready to be mounted in the car. All right, next step is actually gonna be getting it into the car kind of, but before we do that, we're just gonna have to install these lines. That way we can also route it through the car as we need to. So you're gonna need 2 of these. It's basically just this hose with 2 ends, 145 degree, 190 degree. There's gonna be 2 of them, identical ones, and you're gonna go ahead and install the 45 degree angle side onto the 2 high pressure ones, which is the top 2, the side with the plug, these 2. And you're gonna install both hoses on each side. Down under the car, these 2 hoses, I didn't tighten it fully onto the fitting just so they can rotate around a little bit still. But you're gonna wanna run it up along with the OEM fuel rails that are here, basically making sure it doesn't hit against the steering rack. Right up on this side, and then can't really see down here, but the whole assembly is going to bolt up to that mounting bracket that we installed in the very beginning. Moving back under the car again, y'all, we do have to work on some of the fuel lines right under the fuel tank outside. So we're going to go ahead and remove this paneling that's right under. Oh man, oh that was gross, but it just dust right in my freaking face. Oh shit, there's the fuel. Oh shoot. So it's kind of hard for y'all to see, but there's a little clip that we have to take off right here. What we need to do is kind of push this up and then push the fuel line out. Finally got that piece out like I showed you guys. This is kind of what it looks like. These 2 bottom pieces are going to be under the car where it connects to the hard line for the fuel, and then this is the one that gets routed up to the top fuel hat inside the car under that rear seat. So go ahead and take this out. You're not going to need this anymore. It's not going to be reused, as Radium includes different hardware for it. So toss that off to the side and continue on. That shit was tiring because it's so crammed in the car. I do this from under the car or inside, whichever's easier, probably both to be honest. But you're gonna have 2 hoses, the 2 other hoses that Radium gives you. One's gonna have fittings already installed on there. As you can see, the texture's a little different. It's more like a garden hose, long nose like a garden hose. And then the other one's like just your regular rubber type. This one doesn't have the fittings attached to it already because you will have to cut it to size. So you can first start off by installing the straight, I believe this is a 6N fitting. So install that on there first. You can do that. Other side, go ahead and leave loose. From inside the car, you want to kind of route the hose through in front of the fuel tank down to where that other one that you just took off was. And the reason you took that off is so you could have that extra room. Go ahead and run it down. The side with the fitting is going to stay up here, and this will get installed on the return port, which is the in. So you want to go ahead and set that onto there. For the other hose, the same thing. The straight end is going to be over here, and then the 45-degree angled one is going to be routed towards the front of the car. So we're going to send that one down in there as well. And since this material for this hose is less flexible, you're going to want to try to give it like a good curve so it's not like getting, was it the word crimped? Yeah, that way it's not crimped. Same thing as a garden hose. If you crimp it, the water isn't going through. Same thing with this. You don't want your fuel to be stopped. So go ahead and install that on the out port. The other one, the rubber type one, on the in port. They only fit on the respective ones just because the size of the fittings, so you shouldn't be able to mess that up.
Radium, their instructions don't say this because maybe the first gen is a little different, probably is. But there's this giant plastic underpaneling that covers the OEM fuel lines, which normally you would basically run the radium hoses along that and zip tie it to that. Since it's covered, I'm going to go ahead and take part of the underpaneling off, just enough to where I can slide this in. That'll help with protecting it, keeping it behind the shield.
So in this part, I completely forgot to explain what I was doing and kind of just did the work. Sorry about that. But basically the two lines that you run from the fuel tank, from the fuel hanger, is going to go to the two empty ports on the fuel regulator that we installed earlier. The top port, which is the high pressure fuel port, is going to connect to the line that leads to the out port on the fuel hanger, and the one under that is going to be the low pressure line that connects to the in port on the fuel hanger. Before you do connect the low fuel pressure one, you do want to cut it down to size if it is a little too long. Once you cut it down to size, put that 45-degree fitting on there and then tighten it down onto the fuel regulator along with the high pressure fuel port. Looking at these lines, if you had no like flex fuel kit or anything like that, it was just kind of OEM fueling, then it'd be pretty simple for you. Essentially, you could take off all these hoses that are connected to the hard lines because you're not going to reuse them. These hard lines aren't going to be in use anymore. These are going to be your new fuel lines, the one that you ran up to the top. And both of them are going to be high pressure fuel lines, so you could plug them into either the direct port or the port injection, or the direct injection or the port injection, either one. They're both going to be high pressure fuel. The way it works is the pump is going to send fuel up the line to here, and the regulator is going to basically be set at whatever you set it at. If it detects that there is too much fuel, then it's going to just basically turn any extra fuel or whatever is too much back into that return line and then send it straight back to the fuel tank back there. And whatever fuel that you have it set at will come out of these two. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but I do have a flex fuel kit, which kind of changes things a little bit. And I was looking at it, I could have easily just replaced this line right here. No, not this one. Well, this one too. This is how I had it before. This one was on here, and then this right here was connected to the hard line down here at the bottom. This was connected to right here for the flex fuel kit. And I could have easily just taken this off and connected this to the flex fuel kit like that. Flex fuel would work perfectly fine as normal, and have this connected to the engine as it was before. But I did want to still be able to utilize my fuel pressure sensor, which sends a signal to the Ecotech, meaning my tuner can read it, I can read it, and it's just on there for all the logs. What I came up with, obviously there's no engine in here, so it's kind of hard to show, but essentially we're going to take this off, this piece off here, and we're going to replace that with this piece. So this will still go onto here. It's the same as the other side. And we're not 100% sure, but I kind of test fit it on the fuel rail It seems like it fits. This little locking mechanism just feels like it's a little broken. I might have broken it on accident. But I should be able to just essentially connect this right to the fuel rail and still have the sensor plugged in for it to read the fuel pressure. Radium does include like a little hose thing as well as some different attachments depending on what you need. So we have this barbed fitting right here that's going to attach to one side of the hose. This is going to screw onto the high fuel pressure, and then the other end will just basically go onto here, and then they will be held down on both sides with two of these hose clamps that are included as well. It's a little jank. It doesn't look as nice as if you just had these screwed onto whatever you needed to or however you needed to, but it'll work out. I did want to mention though, Radium does include the attachments for your OEM engine fuel rail if you didn't have a flex fuel sensor. So you would just screw these onto the lines, and then these will just attach onto the fuel rail on your engine. So shout out to Radium for that, and shout out to them for giving some extra stuff for the people who do need it. So yeah, pretty much it for this car. The next thing probably won't be another video of this car until we get what we need to get it running again. So might be a little while till you guys see it again, but it's gonna be a great video. You can already tell it's gonna be something that's been weighing on my shoulders for a while, so ready to share that with y'all. Hope you guys enjoy watching these videos as always, trying our best to entertain y'all, and that's pretty much it. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want. Dislike if you don't like it. Derek doesn't agree with that, but
Don't do that.
you guys do whatever you want. Honestly, I'm not gonna tell you what to do.
But my poor car is sitting outside.
Long nose like a garden hose.